It is currently, I'll show you the time, it's 3:23 p.m. So I'm just showing you the real live demonic activity that's underway inside of the apartment. And I'm glad that this is reappearing also because I was going to do a screen recording showing you what I've already demonstrated, the fact that the group stalking system is not only a matter of public corruption and criminal, it's demonic. And just giving ongoing evidence to demonstrate exactly what the entity was engaging in at approximately 3:14 p.m. And that is engineered light that was appearing across the ceiling in this direction. And it was a vibrant, rich engineered light that was moving, and it immediately disappeared. This was combined with what was amplified audible activity. So I want you to see this is the pattern of the blinds that's appearing, and the blinds are indeed closed, and the light source is above the apartment building, just as you saw Marina da Vila crossing path while LAPD was crossing path, while Jung Pak was crossing path, with the people of the state in the white Lexus SUV were engaged in crossing path. That was captured at 1:33 p.m. This is engineered light that is a distinct method of stalking with light, and it is also the outward demonstration of demon possession by the entity that is engaged in group stalking, stalking with engineered light, which is demonic. And the entity is immediately arriving with this light activity. It's 3:25 p.m. I started this video at approximately 3:24, as I stated, 3:23, and I want to show you what was moments earlier. Again, the ongoing monitoring of everything that I'm capturing. So I just took pictures of what was the absence of engineered light because I was going to show you the ongoing appearance and disappearance of engineered light. I just took this picture at 3:20. The entity is monitoring everything that I capture. So I have capturing while I'm reviewing my evidence, immediately as I'm reviewing evidence. And so I'll show you what I was reviewing. I was looking at screen recordings as I open up literally these videos in order to review evidence. Immediately, this engineered light appears on the ceiling. This is pursuant to the ongoing system of surveillance that I'm subject to. This is the federal stalking that the people of the state, speaker companies, Nova contractors, Anthony Jawan Kennedy, all those that are calling the office phone, maintaining real-time knowledge of everything I'm doing on my phone, everything that I'm saying, the LAPD that fly over my head, Marina da Vila, a third-party demon-possessed group stalker, a psychopath heavily documented engaged in that passive-aggressive group stalking conduct in concert with that same demon-possessed terrorist organization, the LAPD. While they're stalking in helicopters, there are multiple videos where you're terrorist who's going to be deported after she sits in federal prison, and that's even if she makes it. And I'm not wishing death on anyone. The reality is that that is an aged person who has multiple health issues, and she's going to federal prison, and then after that she's going to be deported out of this country. And I'm referencing Marina da Vila, and you will see her in multiple videos group stalking with the terrorist organization, the LAPD, and you'll see her standing in relevant position, walking by in relevant position, digging in the back of her car like she was yesterday in relevant position, walking by underneath on the sidewalk under the light source in relevant position, acting in concert with the entity that is group stalking, the demons that are engaging in the system together. And you're aware of what is the time frame. So this is captured 3:20 p.m. The absence of any what is under no circumstances sunlight, and this is again what would be the case. No, sunlight's not going to create engineered light just appearing, and also sunlight does not create what is the behavior of appearing and disappearing. This is an open demonstration of demon possession in the same way that the entity is openly engaging in group stalking in helicopters, and also openly engaging in what is terrorism, which are the people of the state, who equally engage in that conduct, as I've already shown. So I'm going to go ahead and just pivot off of that, because this is exactly what the entity was engaging in what was amplified audible activity and the act of what is terrorism via directed light. This is the same thing that's occurring when I am at the California DMV in Glendale. So let's take a look at that so you can remember what, again, a bunch of strangers whose name you do not need to know, while they are engaging in the identical pattern of conduct at a facilitating venue, which is the identification of the state of California that is indeed practicing what is federal group stalking and monitoring. And I put it in those terms with regard to practicing because it's demonic activity. Group stalking is indeed demonic activity, and that is evidenced through the elements of monitoring that are underway while you're looking at a demon that is crossing path, that is group stalking you, and engineered light appears on the surfaces. And this is what the people of the state did at the venue of the California DMV. And they also did so, again, the people of the state driving the universal waste vehicle, engineered light moving across the building while you're driving a vehicle. And this is an iteration of the same exact pattern. This is what you saw also inside of my office. So we're going to review all of those because you're looking at the same exact pattern. And this is the demonstration of demon possession by an entity that's stalking by helicopters. You're seeing LAPD fly over my apartment. They're group stalking while the light source is directly over the apartment, aiming engineer light inside of my, this is what you'll see at 1:33. This is where They're flying over, and that's what they're continuously doing. And just so that you'll know, that's exactly what I continuously document. The entity is engaging in what is ongoing stalking in helicopter with the people of the state. All they're doing is maintaining surveillance, listening to everything, knowing everything that I'm doing on my phone, on my television, on my laptop, including as I'm capturing the absence of what is the light at 3:20 seconds later. As I open up my videos and review, it immediately appears, and this is exactly what the entity was doing, except that this is stationary. You have seen the flashing of the engineered light in concert with the LAPD stalking in helicopters, which are literally demons that are the terrorist organization exhibiting their demon possession in the same way that demons are doing so while they're driving cars at the California DMV. Engineered light is moving across the building, which is never sunlight. You saw Jeanette Balderas engaging in this while LAPD was group stalking in helicopter at the engineered lights appearing across the dumpster. You have seen the same pattern over and over again. The entity is maintaining engineered light inside of a private space in a stationary manner on the ceilings, maintaining it on a 24-hour basis with regard to what is that system that I remain subject to now inside of my private space. And that's the explanation for what is witnessing the demonic, which is also pursuant to real-time knowledge of everything that I'm doing on my phone. And so that's why at 3:20, there's no concentrated engineered light showing the pattern of the blinds. And as soon as I capture that image and review my video, the entity is anticipating, and again, to its own demise. This is the pattern within the pattern. An entity that provides evidence against itself. The world will never question again what is demonic activity, what it looks like, how it behaves, the criminal conduct that's underway by the government, because the entity that's engaging what is monitoring me, and as it is being simultaneously exposed and prosecuted, and because of it, that psychotic person, that personality defect of that entity. And this is, by the way, this is the danger of what is demon possession amongst those that are in this country, because you're looking at what is an ongoing impulse, a desire, a need to your own demise, because this demonic activity is going to be prosecuted. Okay. But the entity does so. And while everything that the entity does with regard to the pattern of group stalking you, it is also prosecuting itself, because you're stalking with activity, meaning you are on maintaining real-time knowledge of my ongoing behavior, everything that I'm doing. And it is the admission of a stalker that is demon possessed specifically. And that are literally the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department. Those are demons that are stalking heavily, engaging in 24-hour surveillance in helicopters, and also demonstrating their demon possession as they stalk with audible activity creation. They stalk with via the demonic feature of amplification. They stalk while engineered light is appearing all inside of my apartment, which is never naturally occurring. And it is also terrorism via directed light, in the same way that it is terrorism by an entity that's stalking you in helicopters, in addition to the fact that it is terrorism by the people of the state who are acting pursuant to the state's pattern of conduct while they act in concert in that specific environment. It is all terrorism by an entity engaged in group stalking. So I want you to remember, even though I'm showing you that engineered light, I'm just going to go ahead and pivot off of that, because this is exactly what I was preparing to do. The entity provided me evidence that I could just capture on video, show you what I just captured, the absence of, and showing you what's appearing, because that's exactly what the entity did while I was sitting inside watching my television. The entity amplifies helicopter activity, and this light activity moves on my ceiling. This is the ongoing demonic terrorism that the ordinary target individual is subject to and does not have the evidence of occurring. Let me also point out, this is what the entity engages in and then seeks to falsely depict that targeted individual that can't even describe what it is that they are surrounded by, what they're being targeted with. And that is also intentional. And it also, by the way, that which is a matter of criminal defamation, and it is requiring corrupt courthouses, which you already know is the case, because I'm capturing the pattern of conduct at the courthouse, which are nothing other than facilitating venues amongst the sheriff's departments and the courthouses, where they are facilitating venues on the light source, the engineered light. All of the P.O.C. is remaining underway. And that's how I'm able to capture that at the San Bernardino Superior Court. That's how I'm able to capture that at a California Department of Motor Vehicles. That's how I'm able to capture that amongst the sheriff's departments. That's how I'm able to capture that at Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court in Rancho Cucamonga, California. It's the crime scene. And the pattern of conduct is underway throughout the state of California. And it's occurring amongst what is supposed to be the natural environment, and you are understanding what is not natural, and also what is not natural behavior. And so it is requiring a corrupt courthouse to criminally defame the targeted individual who is subject to what is a criminal system that explores and exposes the mental condition of that entity that's targeting you. You are an entire demon-possessed psychopath group stalking with engineered light. Okay, it's a circus environment. You're a psychopath that does so while you know that you're being exposed. You're a psychopath while you provide more evidence of your demon possession and your criminal stalking while you are providing more of it as the evidence is being gathered against you. Okay, and these are law enforcement agencies who are in the business of investigating, gathering evidence, using it in courtrooms, by the way. I'm talking about the legal profession, and the entity that is demon possessed, you are witnessing what is the ongoing agenda trying to maintain an appearance of dignity, an appearance of relying on the badge, relying on the title, relying on the appearance, and it's all a facade, okay? There are demons in the courthouses, demons in the law enforcement agency, demons that are the constituents of that state that are acting in concert with one with real-time knowledge, obsessively engaged in surveillance. And that's how you have that ongoing environment no matter where you go. And this is exactly what I'm capturing at the California Department of Motor Vehicles. So let's revisit that again.
They're going to federal prison. I took a picture of them. The fake sun is over me, and they're crossing paths, communicating a threat.
And remember, this is captured at 9:09 in the morning, where the entity is maintaining a light source directly over me at 9:03. And we will go ahead and review that also as well, while the light source is seen over me at the same time, 9:03 a.m. And the entity is maintaining a light source. Let's recall that.
They are engaging in...
This is, well, we'll look at this one first. 9:03 a.m. This is engineered light. This is the same thing you're looking at while it's on my ceiling inside of my bedroom. This is engineered light. It's not sunlight. It's a method of stalking, maintaining engineered light while crossing a path is present. The entity is group stalking in the sky, space, and planes and helicopters. They're group stalking all in relevant position. This is how I'm able to capture, ladies and gentlemen, the so-called sun. That's not possibly the sun that's over me at the intersection, at the apartment entrance at the driveway of Alvarado Gardens at 9:37 in the morning. In the same video, the terrorist organization is stalking in a helicopter, and at what is I believe I captured that video being at approximately 5:10, 5:12 p.m. until 5:33 p.m. The terrorist organization is group stalking in that video in helicopter, and you have the phenomenon of the that which is not possibly the sun that is over me at that same street. Okay, what that's capturing, by the way, the pattern of conduct, the ability to capture that in and of itself is the P.O.C. This is the pattern by the people of the state, and this is your system. It's also the system as I'm inside of a private space. There is no demon inside of my apartment. The demons are flying over and around my apartment. The demons are walking all around. The demons are living in the apartments all around, and they're engaged in heavy surveillance, including what I do on my cell phone as I review it, engaging in what is replicating that which they know I'm documenting. Okay, so that is the provision of evidence against itself, and that's also revealing the psychopath. Okay, only a psychopath does it, and that's also a very foolish one, because that's real evidence that's going to be used against a whole government. Not just that terrorist organization is going to be shut down and people going to federal prison affiliated with that terrorist organization. I'm referencing the Los Angeles Police Department. You're talking about people such as Jeanette Balderas. This is evidence that's going to be used against an entire entity. Everybody's group stalking together on a ceaseless basis. Anthony Jawan Kennedy, he's going to federal prison. He's a sex offender acting pursuant to the same exact pattern of conduct. Okay, so like I said, this is the engineer light moving across a building outside, never sunlight, not even the sun that's going to be over the Glendale DMV at the same time when I'm at this apartment complex at 9. Remember, the LAPD is flying over my apartment this afternoon at 1. The light source is directly over the apartment. You can see the third party Jung Pak walking. Her shadow, Marina Davila, group stalking. Her shadow is speaking to the light source, which you already know is captured over my head, literally at this apartment at 1 o'clock. So this is the pattern of conduct.
Monitoring in the
That's the light source visible through the window of the vehicle right here over the property. Hold on. So you can see it through the window. That's the light source. And I'm at this property, as you saw in video. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because the entity is surrounded. And this is the psychotic behavioral pattern of an entity that is surrounded by evidence. And this is revealing the mentally disturbed criminal activity upon knowledge that it's being exposed. And then that's serving for what is understanding the malice of criminal defamation. And that's why you go to federal prison. And there are courthouses filled with people that are going to federal prison in Rancho Cucamonga and in San Bernardino. Okay. And in Los Angeles. Okay. So I want to be clear. This is the light source over the same property, 9:03 a.m. And you're going to see the people of the state, which is what Universal Waste represents, group stalking while I'm not in my bedroom. I'm standing outside at a facilitating venue in the workplace because I'm on the job. And this is the pattern, which is speaking to the phenomenon of stalking with engineer light.
space as well. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, they're engaged in this act of terrorism, coming onto the grounds, engaging in the criminal elements, monitoring with the state and LAPD. That is the impossible light moving across.
Okay, so I just want you to remember again, because you can never see this too many times, this engineered light moving all across into the depths of that staircase. I want you to see that. You see that engineered light coexists with what is group stalking. That's called crossing in your path. That's a group stalker. This is the admission of a group stalker. This is literally the government, because this is not an individual. This is the people of the state that are exhibiting a demon possession. They're admitting that they're group stalking you. They're doing so with knowledge of the fact that you're documenting them. They're engaged in surveillance on the venue of the internet in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2 as well. Ty Lee, who is the Asian male you see, these demons are in stride together. They are walking in relevant position, crossing path in stride. They're in sync, in other words. This is a demonic spirit that's operating over both of them. And they're doing so while they're targeting me. They don't have to talk to me. They don't have to look at me. You're witnessing the environment and the light source that is, again, where's the light source? It's directly over my head, which you can see through the window of the vehicle, okay? And this is what you will pay attention to. So I want you to remember, not only is the light source over me, which is not possibly the sun, there's a whole body of evidence speaking to the fact that this is indeed a crime scene, besides the fact that the people of the state are providing evidence against itself, against Anthony Juwan Kennedy, while he is group stalking by calling the office line multiple times. That's exhibiting impunity. He's going to federal prison. He engaged in a sex offense in the shoes of the state, and does so with knowledge that he's being documented. And while the entity is under the light source that's over me at this same property, it's over me today at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not the sun. It remains over me at after 5 p.m. in the evening, which is what you saw on video yesterday at the entrance of the same property, where the entity is engaged in stalking in helicopters. That's the terrorist organization, the LAPD. The people of the state provide evidence against themselves, aside from stalking in that unnatural environment, as they engage in unnatural behavior, which is facilitating group stalking. Engineer light, see it across this apartment building. It's humongous. It's moving all across the apartment building, into the depths of that staircase, all across the wall, while a demon is crossing path. All right, that's terrorism by a directed light. The entity is doing the same thing while you are inside of a private space, maintaining it in a stationary manner. And this is what's on my ceiling, okay? That's not sunlight. It's never naturally occurring. That's the same engineered light that's coexisting with demons that are driving by in vehicles. And this is exactly what you saw at DMV. This engineered light that you see on my ceiling right now appears as I begin reviewing my phone, and the entity that is engaged in ongoing terrorism knows exactly what it is. It's being documented about its criminal conduct, then places that engineered light in a stationary manner on the ceiling. And again, that evidence is by virtue of the absence of that engineered light. So as I captured it at 3:20. So I want to also revisit at 9:03 in the morning, when you're looking at the light source, it's over Alvarado Gardens. That's not going to possibly be the sun that's hovering over my head at the venue of the DMV. You see it remain over me as I leave from Alvarado Gardens on the freeways, on the roads and the highways. That's not the sun that would remain in a manner that is essentially ubiquitous everywhere that you're going at all times, no matter what direction, both when I stay stationary at the property and when I go to an entirely different location, a different address, and you have the maintenance of that light source. That's the pattern of stalking with the light source, and stalking amongst engineered light, and that is exhibiting demon possession. The light source is also telling on the condition of everyone around you. Those are demons that are group stalking you in an unnatural environment. And they also, the people, the state, in other words, exhibit that while they stalk with engineered light.
1595144. And the reason why they do, look at the times. I'm taking pictures of the demons that are group stalking.
All right, this light source is not going to be seen through the window of that vehicle of the Universal Waste that's parked at the parking lot. That is, again, feet away from my leasing office, where the light source is directly over me for the duration of the day. This is over, again, 1335 Glen Oaks Boulevard, which is the California DMV in Glendale. That is not going to be over the window of the Universal Waste vehicle that's in the parking lot of Alvarado Gardens at 9:03 a.m. I remained at this DMV capturing the light source, and which is, again, identifying the pattern of conduct. And remember, not just the crime scene as you're witnessing it, comparing between the California DMV, a state facilitating venue, and Alvarado Gardens, a third-party facilitating venue that is not the natural environment. The entity is also surrounded by a body of evidence where the sun is never going to be present. It is necessarily nothing other than the criminal pattern of conduct, not only because the terrorist organization is resuming stalking in helicopters and in fire, police, and ambulance engaged in criminal summoning, but also because the entity is maintaining an engineered environment, a light source that is, as a matter of documentation for the duration of the day, excluding that the sun would ever be present specifically over Alvarado Gardens, let alone any other location, because that's what is so spectacular about the evidence, because of the asininity of keeping a sun over you all day long. That is out of conformity with nature, logic, common sense, science. It's not natural. It's not the sun. This is the hallmark of group stalking. And this is the light source that's over me at 9:09 in the morning. The entity is maintaining this light source while the people of the state are unilaterally demonstrating and admitting that they are, first of all, demon possessed while they are group stalking. And that is the engineer light that will move across the DMV video.
They communicate a threat. It's the same framework, same blueprint. The demons.
And this is the same thing. The iteration of that is maintaining engineer light on my ceilings and walls and all over my inside of my apartment while the entity is surrounding me. This is group stalking me while I'm inside of the private space, which is the sex offense.
The police vehicles and in the helicopters will arrive to communicate a threat. That's the passive-aggressive psychopath. By virtue of their presence, they're monitoring and threatening your life. 9BKN262 is going to federal prison. All right, they're engaged in molestation with directed light, moving across the building. Wow, I couldn't make it up. You're talking about arriving, coming to the venue while I'm documenting the people of the state, going to federal prison. License TAXI77, vehicle number 7177. That's both city cab and that driver's going to federal prison. The entity arrives to communicate a threat while I'm capturing pictures of them. 8YSP178, federal prison. 9DOJ182, federal prison. Engineer light moves across the building.
So I just want to make sure you can see that. The other one was a little too faint, so let's make sure that you can see that. It's moving steadily across the building in stride with what are the people of the state who are driving at a distance on the roads, in the highways. And this is what I'm stating. This is not traffic. This is called crossing a path. This is the malicious and systematic means whereby the state of California, the public entity, which is practicing federal group stalking and monitoring, practicing demonic activity, and it is exhibited literally through the light activity, through the heavy stalking behavioral patterns, which is of a highly malicious nature, and is revealing what is the threat that the entity is to the public, wanting to secretly maintain a surveillance system in the state, amongst the state. And then you are also witnessing it because while that ongoing psychotic level of obsession seeks to be concealed, and that demonic method in doing so seeks to be concealed, upon being exposed, you are seeing what is the raw footage of demon possession and that ongoing obsession that's exhibited through continuous group stalking, through the ongoing provision of evidence against itself. Because this provides what is tangible evidence that any federal court is going to look at, is going to use with regard to understanding how group stalking works, what group stalking is, and it becomes legally relevant, regardless of the fact that it is demonic. That does not leave it outside of the doors of any federal tribunal. It is evidence equally probative of the operation of a group stalking system that is revealing what is a matter of public corruption amongst a public entity that is acting criminally with the constituents of that state, and maliciously so. That is a government that is hiding, if you will, its identity amongst that population, which is terrorism, by the way. And it's also terrorism while they do so in demonic means. And so this is engineer light. Again, I'm going to let you see this light activity through what is, again, I'm at a different address amongst people that I don't know any of their names, but you're looking at what is the impossible occurrence of sunlight while you are and on the multiple lanes on the street, and light as though sunlight is going to ricochet at a distance, or even close by at any distance, but they're at a great distance away from the wall of the DMV. And that's how you're understanding what's the significance of what is group stalking. Light is core. It coexists with what is criminal presence, and it's of a demonic nature, and it's terrorism on its face, and where it's happening is also legally relevant. The entity accomplishes this while maintaining engineered light on my ceilings, and they're also engaged in ongoing surveillance on the venue of the internet as I capture their stalking with engineered light, as I begin documentation, as they engage in acts of terrorism. The entity engages in just what you see on my ceiling with real-time knowledge. That is with simultaneity. That's the demonic behavioral pattern. It's also terrorism while demons are engaged in ongoing monitoring conduct.
Federal prison. Engineer light moves across the building, going to federal prison.
Okay, so one more time.
Person would provide the DN322 and those officers, those two males that are in that vehicle, they're communicated threat while I'm capturing pictures of them. 8YSP178, federal prison.
Sorry, I just want to move up the Oh, I guess I can.
9D OJ 182 federal prison. Engineer light moves across the building, going to federal prison. All right. 9FDN 322 and those officers, those two males that are in that vehicle.
Okay, I just want to be clear. You can see it in slow motion moving across the building. It is in stride with what are the people of the state that are systematically crossing path. The reality of what you're looking at, spiritually speaking, at while I'm standing in front of a government building. This is an ongoing evidence of what the whole state of California is engaging in. The government is engaged in what is group stalking. Group stalking is demonic. This is why you have demonic conduct happening literally along the wall of a government building. This is why the light source is over my head while I am standing facing the wall of the government building. That is the California Department of Motor Vehicles, just like you see here, okay? Because that's exactly what the government is engaging in. That's the government that's engaging in what is masquerading, not even persuasively anymore, the terrorist organizations that the LAPD are providing evidence against, all of them in the state of California. This is what the state is engaging in, and it's terrorism, and it is group stalking, and it's demonic at its core. And that level of desperation to continue engaging in that, it serves your good because it's you will have no question about the level of demonic behavior, what the demonic environment looks like, what the demonic behave like. Very highly passive aggressive. That's a threat to your safety, actually. That's a psychopath, an obsessed and exceedingly hostile one, because while the passive aggressive and albeit hostile and obsessed demons are stalking, okay, the demons that are engaging in surveillance vicariously are acting in concert with the demons that are group stalking directly in helicopters, and that's how you have what is flying directly over your head at the same time. And I'm describing the demonic behavior of Marina Davila, who is not even welcome in this country. She's a demon, a third party, a terrorist who's been granted, again, citizenship in this country, and she's going back to wherever it is that she came from. And her engagement and the impunity with which she engages in is exactly what's going to be used against her. It's going to be, I'm capturing, it's being memorialized every day, and it's going to be used against her, and no federal court is going to forget it, okay? In the same way that the ongoing obsessive stalking in helicopters, that's on the watch of Marina Davila. That's what she is in this country for the purpose of. This is what she derives pleasure out of doing. She is documented engaging in a pattern of that, all right? And with no intention to ever cease engaging in what is terrorizing American citizens in this country. And she is group stalking me while engineer light is on my ceiling. That's the purpose of living at a crime scene where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. And she does so with the intent to threaten in concert on the video captured today at 1:33 p.m. while the entity flies over my head in helicopter and she's walking by. This is the pattern of conduct by very hostile and passive aggressive. That's passive aggressive conduct to the nth degree. Okay, that's a threat to your life. Okay, that level of such a psychotic level of passive aggression, it cannot be any more communicated than somebody group stalking you with the state, the terrorist organizations that are stalking you in helicopter, and that's the system of group stalking underway, and that's because they're hostile to the truth that you speak about. Their sick criminal system. So I'm going through this because I want you to see the engineer light moving back and forth over the building, back and forth. The people of the state are crossing path. Those are demons that are engaging in demonic pacing. That's what happens when you're looking at the people of the state. That's not traffic on Alvarado. That's demonic pacing. All right? That's not a.
These are tin bombs
that's
that are
not
uncontrolled.
A private residence that's next door representing what is the Silverview townhomes. That is demonic pacing and criminal presence in the path, which is what Silverview townhomes represents. They act in sync with the same entity. They're engaged in the same sex offense while this engineer light and while they live in relevant position. This engineer light is going against every third party who lives at the crime scene, providing what is 24-hour service to the state that is practicing federal group stalking and monitoring, and so are they. That's why they, being the people of the state, are exhibiting that same pattern of stalking in the path with engineer light, which while it is on the ceiling inside of my apartment, which is entirely entirely demonic, revealing the condition of all those who are living in relevant position, living on the grounds of the crime scene in relevant position, stalking in helicopters in relevant position while they are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And so I just want to speak to that. This is what the entity provided. And it again appears at moments after, literally seconds after I captured this image at 3:20. There is no sunlight that's ever going to appear. So this is the same condition. There's the absence of any engineer light. I take a picture. You can see the ceiling. The lights are, the blinds are closed. This is what I capture. 3:20, I immediately go into my documentation. The entity that's monitoring, the entity that is both fearful and also psychotic at the same time, provides evidence to its own demise. So this is the entity that will arrive in helicopter and fly directly over my head while I'm documenting the fact that they're group stalking in helicopter under a light source amongst engineered light, while I'm documenting the people of the state stalking in the path with engineered light, moving across the circus environment. That's the same thing that the entity is doing with engineered light. So I want to document this. This is the ongoing maintenance of the engineered environment inside of the private space. It is the exact same pattern of conduct, the exact same criminal act that you see the people of the state in a universal waste systems and vehicle engaging in. This is what you see the people of the state exhibiting while they're at the California DMV driving by that vehicle. That's group stalking me and the engineer lights moving across that building. The entity is doing the same thing inside of the private space, and this is relevant to what is terrorism via directed light, and that's exactly what I was going to document, and that's the significance of what I continuously capture. The entity is maintaining, I want to be clear, the entity amplifying audible activity. So I want you to look again at all the names of everybody that's going to federal prison. The people of the state that are a bunch of demons that are living at a crime scene, they are literally awaiting the day that this property is going to be subject to a federal raid, and they're treated as the terrorists that they are. And this goes for the terrorist organization that is the LAPD. They're literally waiting for the hour when they will be subject to a raid, and they're going to be treated like the terrorists that they are because their time is up. Serving Satan is no longer done in secret, and it's no longer accepted in this country. Satan is causing and is the inspiration, rather, behind what is very highly demented criminal conduct and terrorism in the state of California. And the entity is engaging what is ongoing amplified audible activity by these demons that are group stalking in the path, maintaining the elements of monitoring as I move anywhere in my apartment, as I do any and everything on my phone, including while my panties are down. They are indeed violent sex offenders who are currently in custody of minor children with whom they are making terrorists and sex offenders, maintaining the elements of monitoring in concert with the terrorists that are stalking in helicopter. I'm referencing the LAPD, an illegitimate law enforcement agency. They are already removed. Dominic Choi does not actually have a job. They are masquerading right now under what is fictitious authority, and not just because I'm prosecuting them. I'm letting you know they are operating under authority that they do not actually have, and they are waiting for what is judgment that's going to rain down on earth. They are waiting to be raided. They are waiting to be placed in handcuffs. They are waiting to be exposed on the worldwide news. And I'm literally letting you know what's going to happen. The entity is engaged in ongoing terrorism by audible activity. These demons are in relevant position while they maintain a level of noise inside of my apartment as I engage in operation of my communication device. And that's exactly what happened now as I close my Samsung Notes operation. The sound of what is any demon hitting the wall or hitting the ceiling, which again, amplification, which is demonic. It doesn't have to actually be a third party that's on the opposite side of my apartment, which are Camden Stratford and Marie Ennis. The entity provides what is an ongoing soundtrack pursuant to everything that I'm doing. That is called stalking with audible activity, which is demonic, and it's also showing an ongoing obsession with me. Everything that I do. Everything as I do it. Okay. So I just want to be clear. This is terrorism that is to a level that needs to be known by and recognized in the world. All right, on the world stage, it needs to be recognized what Satan is doing amongst the people. Group stalking is not a fable. It is also a government system, and in America, it is unconstitutional, and Americans will be prosecuted, and they're going to be treated like the terrorists that they are, in the same way that they are not welcome to come across any territory come across into American territory and kill American citizens. You're not welcome in this country to be a domestic enemy and terrorize American citizens, and moreover do so while you know that American citizen has every right and shall enforce their constitutional human rights and via federal policy, because the government, the state, has the absence of any ability to provide any redress when it is a documented group stalker. This is requiring the the involvement of the federal government at this point, as I've also shown through the evidence. That's not the son that's over the San Bernardino Superior Court. That's the terrorist organization stalking over my head in a helicopter. I'm referencing the San Bernardino Superior Court. This same entity engaged in evasion of service of process. I have documented through and through every aspect, showing what is the impossibility that the entity has any capability to provide redress to that targeted individual. And so the federal government has been provided through the P.O.C. the ability to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the public corruption is that which infects the courts and every aspect of the state government that is engaged in group stalking and monitoring. So there has been no stone left unturned. Okay. And it is requiring at every level the inclusion of the federal government. And that is speaking to what is such a wide, far-reaching, broad scope level of public corruption. And this is the entire state of California. And how do you know that? Because there's no sun that is, or the actual sun is not over San Francisco and Sacramento and let's say Palo Alto, the corporate office for speaker companies in Palo Alto, while it's remaining as a matter of conclusive evidence over the property of Alvarado Gardens from 9:37 in the morning at the same driveway entrance and after 5:30 in the evening, and then still in perfect alignment with my bedroom window on the third floor of the apartment building on the same property well after 7 p.m. And it's also reasonable with regard to what's that same criminal system when you're looking at the circus environment, which with regard what is clearly not even sunlight. It is pursuant to the same pattern of conduct, which the people of the state are also unilaterally on their own. In other words, not only are they surrounded and choked out by a body of evidence showing that they are beyond a reasonable doubt group stalking, but they are demonstrating their demon possession and the fact that they are group stalking while they stalk with engineered light. The engineered light that coexists with their group stalking conduct. Okay, none of that is naturally happening. None of that is a product of a natural environment. It is all occurring with regard to real-time knowledge of what's being documented about them as it's being documented. And that's the significance of the P.O.C. capturing what the entity is engaging in. And that's exactly what you see here.
PD's group stalking by helicopter. Flying right over me.
All right, that is speaking to targeting. The entity is not only targeting by virtue of flying over my apartment, it's amplification, it's audible activity. The entity is engaging in ongoing maintenance of audible activity and light activity. Okay, those are demons that are stalking in helicopters, flying over and all around my apartment while the light source remains over the property, while engineered light remains all inside of my apartment, maintaining a light source as though it is also setting in alignment to me. All right, it is currently 4 p.m. And I'm documenting this discussion is relevant to what is the federal prosecution of this whole property. It's a federal prosecution of the state of California. How are the people of the state that are going to be treated that live at this crime scene, particularly at Alvarado Gardens Apartments? This entire property, which is a very small property, where the entity is acting as though the sun would remain over this very small property for the duration of the day. Everybody that lives on this property and those that come onto the grounds of this property acting in concert with that terrorist organization is going to federal prison. And everyone in relevant position to this crime scene where I am subject to the criminal system is going to be prosecuted with regard to the rest of the population documented engaged in what is state terrorism. That is federal group stalking and monitoring. And that's the significance of capturing engineered light that's appearing and disappearing on my ceiling, and doing so appearing to the generosity that you all benefit, the rest of the world benefits off of this. When you are able to look at and witness and understand what demonic activity, what the demonic environment looks like. Okay, so let me just go ahead and get up real quick so that you can see beyond any reasonable question, even though I've already shown that. The blinds are indeed closed. Okay, these blinds are closed, and this is, again, the entity that's aiming engineered light above. So as I move across, here's my arm, and there's also more. This is an enlarged size of my arm up here, and this is the arm. There's different levels of magnification, in other words. And remember, this is just the upward direction. You're seeing the entity that also aims engineered light at a downward trajectory. This has nothing to do with the natural environment. It's entirely demonic. The demonic is engaged in real-time observation of its exposure, and it is to its own demise. This is realizing what is the effect of demon possession on a human being. It creates a psychopath. Okay, and this is a spiritual condition that the psychiatrist will not diagnose. They're not touching on this. Medicating it is not getting to the core of an issue, by the way. Okay, but the demon possession creates a psychopath, and a psychopath provides evidence to its own demise when you are inevitably caught in what is under all circumstances very highly peculiar and terrorizing while you are stalking, showing what is your condition. The entity is surrounded by what is hard, tangible evidence of what is an unnatural environment. It's pursuant to the ongoing pattern of conduct. You already know who is group stalking, and you know that they're being documented while they're group stalking, while they engage in that ongoing provision of evidence to that. This is the light source that is remaining over the property at 4 p.m. when you are looking at then opening the blinds. You have the appearance of the window that appears. You've seen the same light activity appearing with multiple shadows. So this is under all circumstances. You've seen the engineered light and the same light flashing. You've seen all manner of what are different methods of engineered light. The entity is engaging in what is a very short-term memory. This is the psychopathic personality disorder, providing what is under all circumstances impossible, trying to make it look as natural. There's no making natural impossible light activity ever. Okay, the fact that it is there, it is conclusive evidence of what they are doing, and we also know your condition of what you're based on what you are doing. You're demon possessed and you're group stalking. The entity does this, and you've also seen my multiple shadows, my 3 and 4 arms. You've already seen that, and the entity is engaging in what is an ongoing ability to manipulate an unnatural environment, speaking to what are the demons that are monitoring evidence. Sunlight is not going to hit this window and appear in an upward position, and then also appear at a downward position. Sunlight is not going to be the product of a so-called light source that's over this property from the beginning to the end of the day. That is still the same analysis where I'm documenting where a demon possessed, a malicious entity that is of demon possession, that is monitoring the evidence and lacks any ability to get outside of that pattern of conduct by, for example, engaging what is criminal presence, which is what this is. I've documented the same exact demon. Engineer Light moves across that white Lexus. I've documented him at Nova Contractor. He's going to federal prison. He was engaged in criminal summoning, and Engineer Light moved across building 1818. And I surmise that's not a natural born citizen, another terrorist that's going to be shipped out of this country. And you see this light activity, you already know what that is. You already know what it is. In addition to that, he's unilaterally demonstrating his demon possession while Engineer Light moves across the vehicles, having nothing to do with sunlight. That's also a sex offender. That's also a terrorist that's going to be likely deported. Many of them are in this country, specifically in California, through the welcome of the governors. I want to be clear, the mayors, these politicians that are engaging in what are welcoming and whoring, prostituting the welfare system, and they're out here being terrorists with the corrupt law enforcement, the terrorist organization, LAPD, flying right over. This entire property is going to federal prison, including this third party right here on this motorcycle. The license plate is already documented, going to be deported out of this country. Criminal presence at what is apartment number 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 4. He's going to federal prison, and then he's going to be deported as well. This motorcycle is documentation of what is present. This particular demon, again, I've heavily documented acting with Nova contractors that were engaged in criminal summoning when they were here engaging in terrorism under the malicious guise of turning over apartment number 1800-3. I documented him engaged in criminal summoning with Nova contractors, engaging what is very terrorizing demonic pacing. Engineer Light moved all across the apartment building. He's also going to federal prison because LAPD provides evidence against him. Coming onto the grounds with what all of the terrorists are doing on an ongoing basis, maintaining the elements of monitoring, because that's the significance of walking an Engineer Light under a light source that's not going to create any sunlight above your head, not creating one shadow, also not creating sunlight that's going to appear on the ground beneath you. And this is the light source that's above. Okay, you have what is the light source that has nothing to do with the sun. It's here all day long, and it's also documented presence as I am in an entirely different region. Also have what is sharing that demon possession while Engineer Light moves across surfaces. That's also impunity because that demon specifically comes onto the ground acting in concert with that terrorist organization. They're all listening to every word, and they continuously engage in that. This whole property is going to be treated like the terrorists that they are. And this is the reality, the new landscape in the United States, and how you are understanding the prosecution and the treatment of terrorists that are going to be prosecuted and moved out. They're going to be removed from this country. And this one in the the black truck, he's one of them. He or she, one of them. But they're going to be deported. Nova Contractors is here. They're going to federal prison. Nova Contractors is here, and that's the gray truck. They are in relevant position at 1812 apartment number 6. They're going to federal prison. Rosie's going to federal prison. Emails, Carla Lugo's going to federal prison, and Nova Contractors is not going to survive federal prosecution and being published as a terrorist in the United States. That little mom and pop company is not going to survive. And they are acting pursuant to what is real-time knowledge. That is federal stalking, in other words, that I documented in still images. That's the same terrorist organization that they're group stalking with when they're calling my phone. The entity is engaging in what is the elements of monitoring, just like I stated was the case this morning. Clock hour. It is currently 4 o'clock, and the entity is maintaining a light source over me, and this is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 4:08 p.m. and I just captured, just to reiterate, that video of the black truck driving onto the grounds. This is concerted conduct with the Los Angeles Police Department. That's a terrorist organization. That's not a legitimate law enforcement agency. And this is one of the terrorist organizations, many of whom are going to be permanently removed, disbanded, and many are going to federal prison for engaging in what is the egregious acts of terrorism in the U.S. that is terrorizing American citizens, stalking them as though we're in a third world country with helicopters. Threatening their lives and their safety and their well-being, also with impunity, knowing full well that they are enforcing their rights and documenting it, engaging in even more of that criminal conduct while they are documenting their criminal conduct. That's what I just captured on video, so I want to make sure that you are aware of that because that's a significance. The entity flew over the parking lot area of Alvarado Gardens above building 1800 and 1802. Nearest the dumpsters over there. That's the portion of the parking lot the entity flew over as that black truck drives on, and I'm narrating in real time the criminal conduct that terrorist is engaging in crossing path and engaging in terrorism via directed light, literally repeating what it is that's occurring on the ceiling. That's the psychotic behavior pattern, the wealthy provision of evidence, speaking to, let me be clear, the exposure of this terrorism that's going on throughout the country. Like I said, this is what I mean, but this is for the benefit of the world. Witness it and for you to learn what it looks like, because that's the psychotic behavioral pattern. So I want to make sure you see the light source that's over me right now at 4. That has nothing to do with what would ever be sunlight. You have also seen what is this pattern of the blinds move around in real time while you're looking at the same stalking. All the LAPD did right now was fly over. They're not going anywhere. Those demons are just pacing back and forth. That was a demon that comes onto the grounds. It's significant what they do in the engineered light. That demon is moving a vehicle that's crossing path in the engineered light, and they do so again on the ground while the entity does so in the sky space, monitoring together. And it's these are demons that are acting in concert. This is spiritually significant what the demons are doing, and all I'm doing is pointing out the environment that they're doing it in, and the fact that they're doing it in concert, and they're maintaining real-time knowledge about the being gathered as they do it. All of that's legally relevant with regard to that very detailed and federal prosecution. What I want to point out is the fact that it is 4:11 right now, and on this day in 2022, looks like June 8th, 2022, I'm capturing the maintenance of the light source. I'm capturing the people of the state that are indeed sex offenders stalking you in the bathroom in the unnatural environment, and this is what is so pathetic. This level of obsession, this engineered light, okay, while the entity is group stalking you in helicopters, group stalking by the people of the state who are inside of a facilitating venue, which is the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street in Ontario, California. Positioning the demons that are focused on you while they enter in, when they use the toilet, when they run water, when they walk in and out for purposes of maintaining the elements of monitoring. That is understanding the predatory and sexually demented and perverted system of federal group stalking and monitoring that never takes a pause. Those demons follow in and all around the bathroom. The demonic pacing that you've seen the terrorist organization engaging in helicopters, they're doing that while they're monitoring in concert with the people, the demons that go in to follow you into bathrooms, group stalking you. And you know that because of the engineered light that's inside of the bathroom, because of the light source that's over the building that is not shared with being over my apartment at what is the Alvarado Gardens apartments. And by the way, yesterday at 5:21 p.m., I was on video right here outside of my the entryway of this apartment complex, and there is nothing shared about the sky space. There is no sun that's going to be over me as I captured at 5:21, while it is, you can document both right now at 4:12, because at 5:21, that light source remains in alignment to me. Okay, it's not going anywhere. And the entity is maintaining a light source as though it's rising and setting here at Alvarado Gardens. And then I'm reminding you where I was on this day in 2022. And I was at the Ovid Family Community Library. So I will show my location while I am arriving earlier in the day, capturing what is group stalking. The light source is remaining over the top of my head. This is at 11 o'clock in the morning, 11:09. It's directly over the roof of that library. You've seen what is group stalking. I walk into the bathroom. This is a group stalker in the private space. And this is what is so psychotic. Luke Powell and his girlfriend are getting out and they're French kissing, they're sucking face, okay? And they're doing so in concert with the entity that's stalking in a helicopter. Everything, in other words, that these demons are doing has nothing to do with each other, has everything to do with me. They are group stalking, and it is entirely pathetic. All right. And it is also not only nauseating while you see two demons sucking face, but the fact that they're doing so, and it's about stalking you. It's about monitoring you. It's about trying to appear and failing, because the light source is what you're looking at. The engineered light is what you are looking at. The entity stalking by helicopters is what you are looking at. That's what you're looking at on an ongoing basis, the pattern of conduct that is ceaselessly underway on an ongoing basis. All right. That's what you're focused on. No one is deceived. No one is confused about what is actually going on in the elements and the hallmarks. The demon possessed that are group stalking you are engaging in what is the maintenance of presence and the elements of monitoring, real-time knowledge. And the more that you expose it, the more sexual violence, the more harassment, the more stalking conduct. That's speaking to, again, the public safety concern. This is why the federal government is going to both prescribe and treat this terrorism that's occurring in the United States in the ways in which I have spoken to. It is 11 o'clock in the morning while I am at 215 East C Street on this day in 2022. The entity is maintaining this light source as I am heavily documenting it. This is at 10:58, so I just want to see the earliest that I got there. It looks like I was en route. This is the entity group stalking. Those are demons group stalking and police, fire, and ambulance. The light source is over my head. By the way, at 10:58 in the morning, the entity is maintaining the light source here over Alvarado Gardens, which is not going to be over 215 East C Street, the library. That's not the sun that would be in its zenith over my head at both addresses, nor would it be at both addresses at the end of the day. That's one address. It's also not going to be over both addresses, which is to say that it's over all of us everywhere all day long, no matter if you stay at that address or matter if you travel all around for the duration of the day. That's not the sun. The only thing that's maintaining ubiquitous presence over all of us at the same time is the sky. Okay, the sky, not the sun. So that's speaking to the pattern of conduct, and the entity is maintaining this light source as I continuously document it. And all I do is capture what is group stalking, and the people of the state maintain the ongoing elements of monitoring an identical behavioral pattern, including stalking in planes and helicopters, while the light source remains directly over my head. And you're looking at what are the systems of group stalking. This is demonic pacing, one after another. What they literally look like demons. Okay, they're crossing path and they're focused on maintaining elements of monitoring while a light source is hovering directly over me, which again, you're going to compare to this crime scene where the entity is group stalking by the people of the state, the same entity, and the entity that's using helicopters to do so. That's not the sun that will be over the same address as I'm capturing. That this is not sunlight that's reaching underneath the covered structure, by the way. That's the pattern of conduct. You have the shadow of, let me be clear, the shadow of a tree that's appearing underneath a covered structure. That is literally impossible light activity. All you have to do is pay attention to what it is that you're looking at. The entity is maintaining the engineered environment as I am 5:21 p.m. This is at the same entrance where it's over the entrance. I'm standing there. This is exactly what you're witnessing, where I am showing you on video where I stand at the entryway of the Alvarado Gardens apartments to give you a vivid illustration of understanding what stalking with an unnatural environment, which is demonic. Okay, the sun is not going to maintain presence like in this way.
This is ongoing.
What you saw, what I described yesterday, the entity maintains a light source for the duration of the day over the rising on one side of my person and setting on the opposite. So because I remain at Alvarado Gardens, rising on one side of Alvarado Gardens and setting on the opposite side, wherever it is that I'm at Alvarado Gardens. And so this is why when I'm at the same apartment entryway at Alvarado Street, it's over the top of my head at 9:37 in the morning as I stand at that same entryway. And by the way, in both vehicles, in both videos, the entity is not only present with the engineered, with that engineered environment, that light source that's not possibly the sun. It wouldn't even be seen, okay? But the entity is engaging in nothing other than it's at the top of my head at 9:37. It's adjacent to what's being in alignment with my face as the entity is engaging what is rising and setting over me all day long, no matter where I'm at. That's pursuant to the pattern of conduct. It is also out of conformity that the sun would ever be over the Ovid Family Community Library. And this is what I'm showing you. This is how I'm able to capture video at the same entryway of the apartments at 9:37 in the morning and after 5 p.m. in the evening.
8ZDX747.
You need to see who's stalking in the path. This is the entity that was sounding helicopter activity. So this is what you're looking at right here.
8ZDX.
Right here. Group stalking in helicopter, crossing path, amplifying helicopter activity, Uber, group stalking. San Francisco. I'm going to drain the pockets. They were monitoring with the entity the entire time. As they are dropping me off, the entity is greeting with amplification, light source over my head, 9:37 in the morning, the same apartment complex. The light source is remaining over me right now. over my head right now. Okay, you're looking at this. This is 937. This is the light source that's over my head right now. Where you're looking at Nova Contractors. That driver's going to federal prison. That's not the sun. Okay? That's not the sun. That's not the natural 937. And that's how you know what budget is engaged in. It's also going to be prosecuted as what is impunity. Because budget is being documented, and budget is also heavily documented engaging in terrorism before I relocated to Los Angeles. So just want to speak to what is going to be draining of the pockets for terrorism as the entity does so through the people of the state. Very widely known, very successful businesses in the country, even that are incorporated, I want to be clear, outside of the country, having the audacity to be in this country making money, they're going to be prosecuted. This is the light source that's over me. I'm at the same property at the entrance at 937.
ZDX747. That's a license plate of a third-party group stalker that is crossing path right now. Crossing path at the same entrance.
And this is where I'm standing. It's literally at the same entrance at 5:21 p.m. That's not the natural environment, nor would that be shared with what's going on at the Ovid Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, which is what I captured today at 5:21 p.m. This is also where you know the entity is indeed engaged in heavily documented group stalking in helicopters in concert with the people who are engaging what are the elements of monitoring what I'm doing on my phone, on the venue of the internet, also utilizing communication devices, which is what Nova Contractors is doing. You want to use your company as a means to engage in the state's pattern of conduct, to engage in the elements of monitoring, well, then that company will be prosecuted. That's what Speaker Companies is doing. And that's also what Nova Contractors is engaged in doing today. The same entity that you see under this light source, they are on the grounds, group stalking, engaging in the elements of monitoring, facilitating, in other words, the terrorist organization. The state of California is what the terrorist organizations represent that are practicing federal group stalking and monitoring. They represent the people of the state as well. Excuse me, they're acting in concert with the people of the state who use their companies. That's what Budget, Speaker Companies, Nova Contractors, Uber are engaging in while they're acting and enabling the government to keep you under surveillance. The government can't do it without the people. That's the significance of an unnatural environment and the ongoing provision of an admission. All right. It is currently, never mind this, the entities you can still see the recording. Yes, still, as long as it's still recording, you can see the impossible light activity. While that is really not, first of all, it's also not sunlight that's hitting the object of that is the window and appearing the pattern of the above my head, and then also the engineered light that you saw while Marie France Salon crosses path, and you're looking at engineered light that's appearing on the building out here. That engineered light that's highlighted. Sunlight is ricocheting off of the windows, creating the shape of the windows on the ground. When Marie Front Salon walked by, that engineer light, rewind the video because it was on the sidewalk. Very rapid movement of that engineer light. Now it's on the building. That's not sunlight anyway. And you're looking at what is light activity. So as though sunlight hits the window, it's ricocheting outside and it's also hitting the window, creating light above your head. So you're just looking at what is also multiple levels of what is nothing other than stalking with light. Stalking in the path while stalking with light, which is what demons are doing. This is how you have this dynamic engineered light moving across the DMV, dynamic engineered light moving across the apartment buildings, engineered light, which is also dynamic, moving rapidly across all over the property, while driving on the grounds, walking all over the grounds, driving on Alvarado Street, where there is no sun over the library in Ontario, California, by the way. It is again, and this is P.O.C.